The battle for humanity's past in the deep corners of space. An ancient map resurfaced an old, forgotten world, once hidden, now calling for rediscovery. A new beginning was about to unfold, but the past was never truly gone, it had just been waiting to be found. Captain Elena Reid studied the holographic display on the bridge of the Aurelia, tracing her fingers along the star chart that had appeared when they decrypted the ancient data core. The coordinates were unmistakable, yet impossible, pointing to a sector of space that all modern maps showed as empty. Gaiadon, she whispered, the name feeling strange yet somehow familiar on her lips. A world lost to time, erased from history. After the great collapse centuries ago, a planet that had become more legend than fact, spoken of in hushed tones by Zen archaeologists and dismissed by military historians as propaganda from humanity's tumultuous past. Commander Kosalina called to her first officer, a veteran of 3 border conflicts who stood rigidly by the navigation console. Set a course, we're going to find out if ghosts are real. The Aurelia, pride of humanity's exploration fleet, cut through the darkness of deep space with purpose. Its sleek, angular hull gleamed under the light of distant stars as it approached. The coordinates. Elena had received her orders directly from Fleet Admiral Zhong. Investigate, document, and return with anything of strategic value. Humanity was rebuilding after generations of conflict. An ancient technology could accelerate their recovery by decades, perhaps centuries. Captain, called Lieutenant Santos from the sensor station, her voice tense with excitement. Nebula. Ahead. Composition unlike anything in our databases, and there's something inside it. Massive planetary body. The view screen flickered to life, showing a swirling cloud of purple and blue gases. Electric currents dancing through its structure like living veins. And there, nestled within its protective embrace, lay a green and blue orb planet that shouldn't exist. Gaiadon, Elena breathed. It's real. The landing was smoother than expected. The atmosphere, surprisingly Earth-like but with higher oxygen content, welcomed them with gentle breezes that carried the scent of unknown flora. Elena led the first expedition team herself, alongside Sarah Chen, their brilliant engineer, Dr. Marcus Vega, and Lieutenant Torres, head of security, whose hand never strayed far from his pulse rifle. They stood at the edge of what once must have been a magnificent city. Massive structures of an iridescent material, neither metal nor stone, rose from the ground and disappeared into the canopy of strange silver-leaved trees. Nature had reclaimed much, but the bones of civilization remained, defiant against time. These buildings, Sarah whispered, her scanner hovering over a section of wall, they're generating power. Minimal, but steady. After all this time, that's impossible, Torres muttered, but his objection lacked conviction as his eyes traced the graceful arches of a structure that dwarfed anything humanity had built. They ventured deeper, documenting everything. Dr. Vega collected samples of the flora, exclaiming with childlike wonder at each discovery. The city seemed designed to coexist with nature rather than dominate it. Technology and organic growth were so seamlessly integrated that it was often hard to tell where one ended and the other began. Elena felt at first a pressure at the back of her mind. Like being watched, she dismissed it as the natural tension of exploring an alien world, but the feeling persisted, growing stronger as they approached what appeared to be a central complex. Captain Torres called, his voice tight. Our comms just went dead. Can't reach the ship. Elena's hand went to her own communicator, confirming his report. Sarah, any technical explanation? The engineer shook her head, dark eyes troubled. No interference pattern I recognize. It's as if the signal is being absorbed. Day pressed on, reaching a structure that could only have been a library or archive. Inside, they found preservation beyond what should have been possible. Data terminals, still humming with faint energy. Holographic interfaces flickering to life at their approach. Sarah approached one terminal, her hands hovering over the alien interface. I think I can access this. The base architecture has similarities to some of the ancient systems we've uncovered from before the collapse. As her fingers made contact, the terminal flared to life with unexpected vigor. Symbols and images cascaded around them, filling the chamber with ghostly light, and with it came the whispers, barely audible at first, then growing in clarity. At last. Visitors. After so long. Torres raised his weapon instinctively. Who's there? Show yourself. But there was no one, just the whispers surrounding them, coming from everywhere and nowhere. The veil welcomes you, Sarah said suddenly, her voice unnaturally flat. Her eyes had gone distant, fixed on something none of them could see. The Veil has been waiting. 3 days into the expedition, and Elena knew something was terribly wrong. 2 more teams had landed, establishing a base camp near the ancient city's heart. The initial excitement of discovery had given way to unease as equipment malfunctioned with increasing frequency and crew members reported vivid dreams of voices calling them deeper into the ruins. Sarah had become obsessed with the data archives, working without sleep to decode their secrets. What she uncovered painted a disturbing history. Gaiadon had once been the jewel of an interstellar alliance, its people masters of technology that bordered on the miraculous. They had harnessed energy in ways humanity had only theorized, created materials that responded to thought, and extended their lifespans to centuries. And at the center of it all was the Veil described in the records as a guiding intelligence, a protective force, a gift from the cosmos itself. They worshipped it, Sarah explained during a briefing, her eyes feverish with excitement and something else Elena couldn't quite identify. But it wasn't a god, it was a phenomenon, a naturally occurring consciousness that permeated the planet. They learned to communicate with it, then to harness it, and then Elena pressed, noting the dark circles under Sarah's eyes and the slight tremor in her hands. Then the records stopped, Sarah admitted, but I'm close to finding more. There's a central chamber beneath the city. The answers are there, I know it. That night, Elena woke gasping from a dream of drowning in darkness that whispered her name. She reached for her communicator to call the ship, but it emitted only static. Rising from her cot, she stepped outside her tent to find Torres standing rigidly at the perimeter, staring into the darkness of the ruins. "Lieutenant," she called. He turned slowly, his face a mask of paranoia. "They're coming for us." "Captain, they've always been here, watching, waiting. We can't leave, they won't let us take what we've found." "Torres, you need rest," Elena said firmly, approaching him with caution. "No," he barked, raising his rifle. "Stay back. I won't let it take me to—" Elena could react. Torres fired, his weapon not at her, but at the darkness beyond the camp. The energy pulse illuminated nothing but ancient stones and twisted vegetation. Torres fired again and again, screaming about shadows moving among the ruins. It took 3 crew members to restrain him, and by morning, 2 more had succumbed to similar paranoid episodes. Elena ordered them sedated and returned to the Aurelia, but the ship's shuttle reported engine failures minutes after takeoff, forcing an emergency landing that left the pilot with a broken arm and the evacuation plan in shambles. Something was keeping them here. In the depths of the ancient library, Elena and Dr. Vega finally uncovered the truth. The records hadn't stopped, they had been deliberately erased, but fragments remained in backup systems that had lain dormant for millennia. The Veil wasn't a natural phenomenon, Vega explained, his voice hushed with horror. It was an entity, intelligent and hungry. The Gaiadon people didn't harness it. They were consumed by it. It fed on their consciousness, their emotions, their very essence. Elena felt ice in her veins, and we woke it up. "It never truly slept," came Sarah's voice from the entrance to the chamber. She stood there, eyes now filled with an unnatural luminescence, her movements fluid, yet somehow wrong. "It waited. And now it has new vessels." Elena reached for her sidearm, but Sarah moved with impossible speed, knocking the weapon away. "Don't fight it, Elena," she whispered, her voice overlaid with something older, deeper. "The Veil offers transcendence. Join us." Dr. Vega lunged at Sarah, giving Elena precious seconds to escape. She ran through the corridors of the ancient complex, the whispers in her mind growing louder, more insistent. The pressure behind her eyes was building, threatening to split her skull. "You cannot resist. You cannot escape. You belong to the Veil." Now she stumbled back into the camp to find chaos. Half her crew stood in eerie stillness, eyes glowing with the same light as Sarah's. The other half fought or fled, confusion and terror evident in their every movement. A security officer fired on his possessed comrades, only to be overwhelmed by their unnatural strength. Elena's mind raced. The records had mentioned containment. The Gaiadon people had failed to destroy the Veil, but they had managed to contain it to the planet. That was why Gaiadon had been erased from history, its coordinates purged from every database. It wasn't forgotten, it was quarantined. But now the quarantine was broken, and if the Veil escaped, if it reached populated worlds through them, humanity would face a threat greater than any war or plague in their history. Elena gathered the remaining unaffected crew. "We need to reach the shuttle, repair it, and contact the Aurelia. And we need to find a way to contain the Veil again permanently this time." "How?" demanded a terrified communications officer. "Half our people are already taken." "The archives mentioned a device," Elena replied, her determination hardening. A failsafe the Gaiadon created but never used, a resonance generator that could disrupt the Veil's energy pattern and force it back into dormancy. "And where is this device?" asked Commander Koss, who had arrived with the second landing party, looked toward the central spire of the ancient city, now pulsing with an ominous light. "Where else? Right at the heart of what the Veil is protecting." The battle for the shuttle was brutal and swift. The possessed crew members fought with inhuman strength and coordination, but they still bled when shot, still fell when hit with sufficient force. Elena hated herself for giving the order to fire on their own people, but there was no choice. The Veil had to be contained. With the shuttle secured and repairs underway, Elena led a small team toward the central spire. Commander Koss, 2 security officers, and Dr. Vega, who had somehow escaped the library and made it back to camp with only minor injuries. "The possessed won't let us near that tower," Koss warned as they crept through the ruins, avoiding the search parties that now hunted them with predatory efficiency. "They don't have to," Elena replied grimly. "According to the archives, there's a maintenance tunnel that leads directly beneath the spire. The Gaiadon built it as an emergency access route to the resonance generator. They found the tunnel entrance hidden beneath overgrowth, just as the records had indicated. It was tight, dark, and seemed to descend endlessly into the planet's depths. As they crawled through, Elena felt the pressure in her mind increase, the whispers becoming more desperate, more angry. "Turn back. Die here. Join us or perish." One of the security officers began to scream, clawing at his helmet as if trying to tear it off. Before anyone could stop him, he had removed his breathing apparatus and was convulsing, foam bubbling from his lips. "The air down here," Dr. Vega gasped, checking his scanner. "It's saturated with some kind of neurochemical agent. Our filters can't handle the concentration." "How much farther?" Koss demanded, his voice tight with strain. "Not far," Elena assured, though the tunnel seemed to stretch into infinity. "Just hold on." They reached the chamber beneath the spire just as the second security officer succumbed, his mind shattered by the Veil's assault. Dr. Vega was barely coherent, muttering equations and fragments of alien text. Only Koss remained functional beside Elena, his military discipline a bulwark against a mental invasion. The chamber was a marvel of ancient engineering, a spherical room lined with crystalline panels that pulsed with energy. At its center floated a device that defied conventional understanding, a twisting, turning construct of light and matter that seemed to fold in on itself in impossible ways. "The resonance generator," Elena breathed. "And its guardians," Koss added, grimly, pointing to the entrance where Sarah Chen stood, flanked by several possessed crew members, their eyes burning with the Veil's power. "Elena," Sarah called, her voice a terrible harmony of herself and something ancient. "Don't do this. The Veil offers evolution, the next step for humanity. It doesn't want to destroy, it wants to elevate, by consuming our identities." Elena challenged, moving slowly toward the generator. "By erasing who we are and turning us into puppets. You see it through limited human perception," Sarah replied, advancing into the chamber. "The Gaiadon resisted too, at first, but those who embraced the Veil ascended to a higher plane of existence. They became more than mortal, they became extinct." Elena snapped. "This isn't ascension, Sarah, it's annihilation." The possessed crew attacked in unison, moving with unnatural coordination. Koss engaged them with grim efficiency, his combat training evident in every movement. "Activate the generator, Captain," he shouted as he fought. "I'll hold them off." Elena raced to the center of the chamber, her mind racing to recall the activation sequence from the archives. The generator responded to her touch, the crystalline surfaces warming beneath her fingers. Symbols appeared, ancient and alien, yet somehow comprehensible to her now. Behind her, Koss fought a losing battle. One by one, the possessed crew members overwhelmed him, their inhuman strength too much even for his training. He went down under their assault, still fighting, still buying Elena precious seconds. Sarah approached, untouched by the violence around her, her movements serene and terrifying. "Stop, Elena, you don't understand what you're destroying. The Veil is ancient, it has witnessed the birth and death of civilizations. It holds knowledge that could transform humanity." "At too high a cost," Elena replied, continuing the activation sequence. The generator hummed with increasing power, the symbols pulsing faster. Sarah lunged inhumanly fast, her hands closing around Elena's throat. "Then you leave us no choice." Elena struggled against Sarah's grip, her vision darkening at the edges. With desperate strength, she slammed her palm against the final symbol of the activation sequence. The generator flared with blinding light, a high-pitched tone building rapidly to an almost unbearable intensity. Sarah screamed not with her voice, but with 1,000 voices, ancient and terrible. She released Elena, stumbling back, her body convulsing as the veil fought against the resonance that tore at its very essence. Elena, Sarah gasped, briefly herself again, her eyes clearing for a moment. It's working, but not enough. The generator needs more power. It needs ... a catalyst. What kind of catalyst? Elena demanded, helping her friend to her feet. Living consciousness, Sarah whispered, the light beginning to return to her eyes as the veil reasserted control. A willing sacrifice to complete the resonance pattern. Someone has to stay, has to become part of the generator. Elena looked at the generator, then at the chamber entrance where more possessed crew members were arriving. Their time was running out. Tell them we fought, Elena said quietly. Tell them we survived. Elena, no, Sarah cried, fighting against the veil's control with every ounce of her will. I'll do it. It's my expertise, my responsibility. You're already compromised, Elena replied with sad finality. It has to be someone the veil hasn't touched. She pushed Sarah toward Kos, who was regaining consciousness. Get her out, Commander. That's an order. Before they could protest, Elena turned back to the generator and pressed her hands against its core. The crystalline structure seemed to liquefy, flowing around her fingers, up her arms, enveloping her in living light. The pain was excruciating, but with it came clarity. She could feel the veil now, ancient and vast, a consciousness that had survived eons by consuming others, and she could feel how to end it. Go, she screamed as the chamber began to shake, the very planet seeming to convulse as the resonance built to impossible levels. Kos dragged Sarah away, fighting through the disoriented possessed crew, who were now clutching their heads in agony as the veil's control wavered. Elena surrendered herself to the generator, her consciousness expanding outward through its network, encountering the veil directly. She felt its rage, its hunger, its ancient loneliness, and she pushed back with everything that made her human, her courage, her determination, her willingness to sacrifice for others. The generator reached critical resonance, the chamber filled with blinding light, and Elena Reid ceased to exist as a separate entity. Her last conscious thought was a memory of stars viewed from the Aurelia's bridge, the beauty of the cosmos she had dedicated her life to exploring. The Aurelia broke orbit with shields failing and engines straining against the gravitational distortions that now racked Gaiadon. On the bridge, Commander Kos gripped the captain's chair, her chair now with white knuckles, watching the view screen as the planet below them convulsed with energy discharges. Status of the evacuation, he demanded. All surviving crew accounted for, reported the tactical officer. 27 casualties, 8 still under sedation, recovering from the veil's influence, and Dr. Chen stable but unresponsive. Medical doesn't know if she'll recover. Kos nodded grimly, his eyes fixed on the dying planet. The resonance had worked beyond their expectations. The veil wasn't just contained, it was being torn apart, its ancient consciousness dissipating into the void after millennia of existence. But the cost had been too high. Sarah called the communications officer. We're receiving a transmission from the surface. That's impossible, Kos snapped. Everyone's accounted for. It's Captain Reid's signature, sir. The bridge fell silent. Kos swallowed hard. Put it through. Static filled the speakers, then cleared to reveal Elena's, distorted, but unmistakably hers. Aurelia, mission accomplished. The veil is breaking down at the molecular level. Its consciousness is ... fragmenting. I've become part of the resonance pattern ... Not much time left. Captain Kos said, his voice thick with emotion. We can attempt a rescue. No, came her reply. Firmer now. I'm not entirely human anymore. What I've become needs to end with Gaiadon, but I've access to Veil's knowledge. Understanding that spans millennia. I'm transmitting data now, coordinates to other lost worlds. Technologies the Gaiadon developed before their fall, warnings about dangers still lurking in the dark between stars. The science officer confirmed the incoming data complex and potentially revolutionary. Tell them, Kos, Elena's voice continued, beginning to fade. Tell humanity what we found here. Tell them about sacrifice and courage. Tell them we fought. Tell them we survived. I will, Captain, Kos promised, a single tear tracking down his weathered face. I swear it. The transmission cut off as Gaiadon gave one final, violent shudder. The planet's surface cracked, brilliant light pouring from its wounds like luminescent blood. The nebula surrounding it pulsed once, twice, and then collapsed inward. enveloping the dying world in a shroud of cosmic dust and energy. When the light faded and their sensors could penetrate the debris cloud, Gaiadon was gone, collapsed into a quantum singularity that would eventually fade to nothing, taking the last traces of the veil with it. Set course for home, course ordered quietly. We have a story to tell. As the Aurelia turned away from the newly formed singularity, Sarah Chen awoke in the medical bay. Her eyes were clear now, free of the veil's influence. She remembered everything: possession, the fight, Elena's sacrifice. And she remembered something else, a promise. In the days that followed, as the Aurelia journeyed back to human space, Sarah worked tirelessly with the science team to analyze the data Elena had transmitted. It contained wonders beyond imagining, solutions to problems that had plagued humanity for generations, maps to resources that could end scarcity, and warnings about threats they had never imagined existed. Gaiadon was lost, but the lessons it held would guide humanity forward. They had paid a price, but they had survived. A new beginning, shaped by the past, had arrived, and somewhere in the vast datasets, encoded in patterns only Sarah recognized, was a final message from Elena Reid to her friend: the stars are even more beautiful from here.